Welcome back to Always Ours, Chapter 14, After Action, Summary, in which the consequences of changing time rebound on everyone again. Tomorrow was furious. No, furious suggested focus, direction, a target he could reduce to dust and feel better for it. This was worse. This was crawling, gnawing itch beneath his skin, an urge to erase something he couldn't see or name, like the world itself was wrong and laughing at him for noticing. He paced the hideout, back and forth, footsteps sharp against concrete. His hands twitched constantly, fingers flexing, nails scraping across his palms, until thin red lines bloomed and smeared. Dust flaked from his fingertips with every clench, drifting to the floor in silent, useless testimony. He didn't notice the blood. He noticed the silence. The feeds had gone quiet hours ago. No breathless news anchors shrieking about a new symbol of terror. No hashtags. No grainy cell phone footage of him, cloak snapping, hand outstretched. Just Stain. Again. Please don't dissolve the good whiskey, Master, Kirugiri said calmly, voice perfectly level, as if he were reminding someone to take an umbrella. Tomorrow stopped inches from the bottle. His fingers hovered over the glass, trembling with the effort it took to close them. His reflection warped in the curve of it. Pale face, red-rimmed eyes, jaw clenched too tight. They stole it, he snapped. They stole my moment, my debut. The word tasted like rust and ash. All anyone's talking about is Stain. Even when Eraserhead doesn't take credit, it still comes back to other people stealing my moment. His ideals, his stupid martyr nonsense, his true heroism. His voice rose, broken and raw. They should focus on me. Kirugiri inclined his head, ever the patient chaperone. The underground heroes rarely seek recognition, he observed. That restraint leads to magnify public fascination with anything they are involved in, and an arrest of the hero killer is a huge victory for any hero who does the arresting, whether they want the acknowledgement or not. Tomorrow's jaw clenched until his teeth hurt. It's nauseating. A soft chuckle rolled through the room. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Tomorrow first. Enough, Tomorrow. The voice slid into him like a hook, catching on old conditioning. His shoulders pulled tight, posture straightening instinctively like a child caught mid-tantrum by a parent who didn't have to raise their voice. You never learn if you refuse to fail, All for One continued, tone mild, almost indulgent. And you are not diminished by mistakes. That made it worse somehow. Tomorrow turned slowly. You're not angry? No, said All for One pleasantly, because you brought me something far more valuable than a successful debut. Confusion cut through the haze of rage like cold water. What? I was watching the broadcasts, All for One said. Not the official ones, of course. I watched the gaps, the distortion, the moments that stuttered. He leaned forward slightly. Tomorrow couldn't see his face, but he could feel the attention sharpen like a scalpel's point. Reality doesn't like to be rewritten, All for One murmured. It leaves fingerprints. Tomorrow's stomach twisted. Rewritten? Whoever has been interfering with events, he went on, scribbling in the margins like a child dissatisfied with the story, was close to you. Tomorrow stiffened. What do you mean, close? I can smell their interference on you, All for One said calmly. Like ink that hasn't dried yet. They were nearby, watching, touching the edges of the scene and thinking no one would notice. A pause. And now, he added softly, they are no longer hidden. Tomorrow swallowed. The itch under his skin spiked. And when you find them? All for One smiled. Tomorrow couldn't see it, but he felt it, like pressure blooming behind his eyes, like a hand closing around the back of his neck. I will rip that quirk from them, he said, voice almost tender. I will take their ability to play God and use it myself. The room seemed to tilt. All the air knocked sideways. Then, he continued almost dreamily, I will finish what was taken from me. I will be the ruler I was meant to be. Silence stretched, thin and brittle. Don't you mean we? Tomorrow asked finally, the word catching in his throat. A heartbeat passed. Yeah, All for One said smoothly. Of course. We. Tomorrow didn't respond, because for just one brief, horrifying second, it felt like something had looked through him. Splinter sat very still. The reflection in the sugar shaker's metal lid showed nothing wrong, just ruffled fur, just shadow. But he could feel it. The collar lay hidden at the base of his neck, sleek alloy hidden through camouflage, resting against his fur, invisible to everyone else. Please, he said, voice rough with horror and despair. Netsu, take it off. The answer came not in words. Electricity kissed his spine, precise, controlled. Not pain meant to break him, pain meant to teach. He gasped, claws raking the tabletop as his muscles locked and released. Oh no, Netsu said softly, stepping closer. Not yet, my husband. His breathing went shallow, despite himself. He hated that his body reacted before his mind could steady it. I need to go to my sons, he said, forcing the words out carefully, gently, as if gentleness might spare him. They are hurt, confused. They remembered me, and then they were made to forget. His voice cracked despite his efforts. I have to fix this. Please. Netsu sighed, the sound patient, indulgent. You think you know best, Netsu said. And yet, without me, he tilted his head, studying Splinter with open fondness. You were a starving, wounded, feral thing when we met. Beautiful, yes, but broken. Another pulse. He bit down hard on a cry of pain. He knew from experience that those who captured others often enjoyed hearing them in pain. Copper flooded his mouth. I fed you, Netsu continued calmly. Sheltered you, gave you purpose, love. His eyes softened. I would never hurt you the way they did. Never hurt you, he says, while hurting me. You'll see, Netsu went on, voice warm, reassuring. Once you understand that what I do is for your own good, the collar comes off. Until then, all I ask is your patience and your love. He leaned closer, nose nearly brushing his ear. Don't we both deserve that? He shuddered as he thought of Leonardo, standing tall and proud and then collapsing and then having his memory of Splinter ripped away. Thought of Raphael burning from the inside out, still fighting, still reaching. Thought of Michelangelo's laughter echoing somewhere he could no longer touch. Thought of Donatello, who would be safer here, yes, but safer was not the same as loved. For years he had been disciplined, balanced, still water. Hisashi had told him to let them go, to trust that love did not mean possession. So he had, and the world had punished him for it. Anger surged, now, hot, sharp, unfamiliar. It did not soothe. It burned, just like he told Raphael so long ago. He reached for the collar. Instantly, electricity tore through him, harsher this time, driving him down to his knees. He snarled despite himself, claws digging into the floor as his vision swam. None of that, Netsu chided gently. The more you fight, the more that I have to punish you. I don't like doing this. Another click, another controlled jolt. But for all I hated the humans for what they did, they had a good point. Pain is the best teacher. And you are smart, just like me. I can see it. You will learn quickly, and we can get past this together. He crouched, small paws folding over Splinter's larger ones, with a parody of comfort. So stop fighting, he whispered. Let me do the talking, the thinking. Let me show you how good life can be if you only allow me to care for you as you always should have been. You think you have chained me, he rasped, his breath coming in broken bursts. You might have done so temporarily, but this is not, as the humans say, my first rodeo. Pain will do nothing but teach me to hate you. He needed to show Netsu exactly what kind of creature he had chained. You do not know what you are saying, Netsu cooed, patting his paw with infuriating gentleness. You're upset. You'll see. He forced the fury down, not because it was gone, but because it was useful. He had seen them, just for a moment, in the smoke and the ruin of Hosu. The one responsible, the author who rewrote his son's pain like a story that could be revised at will. Eyes wide, journal clenched in shaking hands, frozen as dragons roared and a father begged the universe for mercy. They were close, and they would not leave. Not while they believed the story they were fixing. Not while they thought the worst consequence was scolding and a reset. I will make you pay, he vowed silently, teeth clenched as the collar hummed against his fur. Every loss, every interruption, every stolen moment, it will all be paid back, even if I must become the monster I swore I would never be. Uwabami had never been on this side of the heroism before. She paced the length of her office, heels clicking sharply against polished tile, snakes hissing and weaving with restless agitation. Their unease poured straight into her bloodstream, tight, coiled, electric. This was not how it was supposed to go. She had done rescue work, real rescue work, back when she was a rookie, and the cameras hadn't learned her angles yet. Back when her snake's heat sense had guided her through smoke-choked hallways and collapsed tunnels, whispering where hearts still beat, and where bodies were cooling, or it was already too late. A useful quirk. Too useful, some might say. She never told her agencies the full extent of it. Never told them her snakes could speak to her in gradients and rhythms and patterns of warmth that no thermal camera could replicate. They already thought too little of her as a hero. She wasn't going to hand them another excuse to pick her apart. Then she'd been scouted. 20 years old, pretty, exotic, marketable. She'd loved it. Loved the attention. Loved watching unsettling turn into stunning. Loved being held up as proof that heteromorphic quirks didn't have to mean monstrous. Didn't have to mean hidden. Loved that little girls with scales and horns and tails wrote her letters saying, because of you, I think I can be on TV too. And she'd still been a hero. She still was a hero. The modeling paid well. It kept her snakes content, warm studio lights, gentle hands, administration instead of fear, which made her rescue work smoother, more precise. And when she took interns, she paid them, every single one, on time. No exposure nonsense. No, you're lucky to be here. People whispered anyway that she didn't care, that she was shallow, that she was wasting hero resources on photo shoots and perfume deals. They were wrong. The first day of internships was always the same: cameras, postures, and presentation. The day every intern hated. But heroes lived in the public eye, whether they liked it or not. Reputation saved lives. Presence calmed crowds. A steady smile could stop a panic. She was teaching them what schools didn't. And now one of them had run straight into Hosu. Her agency had been under attack. The protocol was clear. Interns stayed put. They did not freelance heroics in the middle of a war zone. Not under her name, not on her watch. And yet, I did not authorize that. Obama snapped into the phone, pacing harder. No, Chief Surigami, I had no idea my intern would abandon post during an active attack. No, they did not have permission. Her snakes hissed louder, their agitation spiking with hers. She pricked the bridge of her nose, dragging her voice back into something smooth, professional, the tone that had sold moisturizer and earthquake relief in the same 30-second spot. I take my responsibility seriously, she said, each word clipped. I always have. And it was true. She always remembered her interns. If not the faces, then their heat, their rhythm, the way their presence felt to her snakes. Each body warm with its own thermal signature, a subtle music of warmth and motion. This one, nothing. No lingering impression, no remembered cadence, no echo of warmth in her snake's coils. Blank. That unsettled her more than anything. Because it meant one of two things. Either the intern had never mattered enough to register, or something had erased him from her senses entirely. Her jaw tightened. The commission would want a name, a narrative. Famous model loses control of trainee. She could already hear the talking heads. Should Uwabami be allowed interns at all? Are celebrity heroes a liability? She spent years clawing her way out of the box they'd put her in. She was not going back without a fight. If the commission wanted someone to blame, she would give them one. If her reputation had to survive at the cost of a reckless intern's future, so be it. She straightened, snakes settling as her decision hardened. Blacklist them, she said quietly into the phone. Effective immediately. No future placements with my agency. A pause on the other end. Agreement. Paperwork. She hung up. Somewhere else the author could hear their name spoken with admiration, praise for bravery, for initiative, for helping during the crisis. They would never see the email that quietly flagged them as a liability, never hear the doors that shut before they even knew they were knocking. Uwamabe stared at the far wall long after the call ended, hands still, snakes still slowly going quiet. She did not see the missing shape in her memory. She only felt cold where something should have been. Raphael woke to the sound of heavy breathing. Too loud, too ragged. Each inhale scraped like sandpaper, hot and dry, as if his lungs were lined with embers. The hospital room smelled wrong. Antiseptic ward with faint smoke and ozone, like something massive had burned nearby, and the world was scrubbing it from its existence. He sat up too fast. Heat surged through him, not normal, not fever, but a living current coiled under his skin, restless and furious. He looked down at his hands, froze. Talons, not claws, not some quirk imitation of nails. Talons, curved like a raptor's, gleaming black at the tips, flexing with a mind of their own. They scraped the bedsheet with a faint predatory scritch, sending ice down his spine. Oh, Shell. His arms came next. Green diamond-hard scales rippled across his skin. Interlocking plates caught the fluorescent light and flushed deeper, blood red, as his pulse hammered. A weight shifted behind him, heavy, wrong. He twisted carefully, nearly fell off the bed. A spiked tail lay coiled against the mattress, armored and tufted at the end, thick as his forearm. It twitched once, testing the air, listening for threats he couldn't name, and beneath everything, heat. Not burning pain, not injury, a living flame woven into his veins, pooling in his chest, crawling into his spine like it resented being contained. It surged, right, too strong, too precise, like weapons he hadn't asked for. Kendo answered on the second ring. 20 minutes later, she stood frozen in the doorway. Her eyes tracked him, the talons, the scales shifting red, green with every breath, the tail curling involuntarily, the unnatural shimmer of heat warping the air around his skin. "Raph," she said, voice too quiet, arms crossing right over her chest like armor. "Something is wrong." He exhaled shakily, sound wet and broken. "Yeah, I noticed." She crossed the room in 3 deliberate steps, eyes never leaving him. Up close, he could see her fighting not to flinch, jaw tight, hands flexing at her sides. "This isn't a quirk evolution," she said flatly. "It's too much, too fast. You're sweating through the sheets already. Your skin's hot." She swallowed. "What if it's boiling you alive from the inside?" The words landed like a gut punch. He had been avoiding that thought. The constant inner fire, raging when he held still, calming only when he moved. "I don't remember most of Hosu," he admitted, voice cracking. He stared at his talons, flexing them experimentally. They bit into his palm without breaking skin. Just flashes. His fire, screaming, rage. His voice tightened. "Like if I stopped, even for a second, something bad would happen. Something would be gone." Kendo knelt in front of him, close enough that he could feel her normal human warmth against his unnatural heat. Her fingers hovered over his arm, hesitant, then brushed the scales. They were scorching. She didn't pull away, but her eyes glistened. "Raph," she whispered, "I'm scared. I know you probably want to tough it out, but as your girlfriend, I'm telling you that something is wrong. This doesn't look like a quirk evolution. It looks like something seriously wrong." The words carved deeper than any talon could. He looked away, throat burning, not from heat, but from something worse, emptier. "I feel like I lost something," he rasped. "Something huge. Like it was ripped out of me when I wasn't looking." "What?" she pressed softly, hand still on his arm. "I don't know." Frustration cracked his voice. "Can't grab it. Just..." His chest hitched. "Feels like family. Like more than family. More than us." Guilt twisted the knife. Kendo was right there, solid and fierce, and his. And yet this ache yawned wider, deeper, swallowing everything. "Whoever it was, they taught me about the anger, how to not let it eat me alive. And now they're gone, like they never were." Kendo's grip tightened, steadying him even as her breath shook. "We're telling a recovery girl," she said, iron in her voice. "Kan-sensei. Everyone. You do not have to be alone. You should not be alone." Raphael nodded, relief tangling with terror in his gut. As Kendo hit the call button, the flames inside surged, grieving, furious, searching. Deep in his chest, something ancient mourned a father's voice he could no longer quite hear, and Raphael's heart cracked open around the empty space. Ryu stood at the conference room, and Murray at his side. He had run through the conversation a dozen times in his head. None of these versions ended well. The door opened. Conversations died instantly. Nedzu entered first. Splinter followed half a step behind. Ryu's stomach dropped. Wrong. That was the only word for it. Not injured, not visibly restrained, not even disheveled, but wrong. Splinter moved with perfect control. Too perfect. Every step measured, every motion deliberate, like someone walking across a floor lined with traps only they could see. His ears were pinned flat against his skull. His whiskers trembled in constant, minute vibrations, like a tuning fork stuck and never allowed to settle. Every few seconds, a twitch, a, a hitch, a flinch. Small, controlled, almost invisible, unless you were looking for it. Ryu was. And then Nedzu touched him. Lightly, casually, a paw brushing his leg, his hip, reassuring, possessive. Splinter flinched harder. Then he forced himself still. Not relaxed, still. Ryu felt something cool down his spine. That wasn't comfort. That was conditioning. Splinter took his seat, carefully, like he was accounting for something no one else could see. Ryu swallowed. Thank you all for coming, he began, forcing his voice steady. Namuri and I need to discuss a serious matter regarding Principal Nedzu's compromised state. Namuri cut in. Silence dropped like a blade. Nedzu tilted his head, smiled gentle, fixed. That's quite the accusation. We have evidence, Ryu said, turning the projector before his hands could betray him. Reality-altering quirk activity, timeline discrepancies, and the footage played. Leonardo's transformation, Splinter's voice, my son, raw and breaking. Then white, a splice, a different reality. Gasps filled the room. And, Ryo continued, quieter now, behavioral changes, consistent with mental manipulation. Aizawa leaned forward. What kind of changes? Possessiveness, Namuri said. Irrational attachment. Threats against staff who questioned him. Hisashi frowned. Nedzu? That doesn't sound like... It's true, Aizawa said flatly. Ryu didn't look at him. He couldn't, because he was watching Splinter, watching the way he sat perfectly still, watching the way his claws pressed into his own thighs, too hard, thin lines of red seeping through fur, and still he didn't move, didn't react, didn't draw attention. That wasn't passivity, that was restraint. Careful, calculated restraint. I've noticed, Aizawa continued, staring at Nedzu. Since the sports festival, you've been territorial, less logical, less you. Something flickered in Nedzu's eyes, gone in an instant. Why are you all so against us? Nedzu asked, tone sharpening. You're acting as though I'm threatening him, as though I would ever harm. You took a control collar, Aizawa cut in. Where is it? A beat. Nedzu blinked, confusion, real or performed. I don't know. The logs do, Ryu said. Control collar number 7, removed before you left for Hosu. Nedzu's ears flattened. I thought, he said slowly, you people would understand. He turned, softened. My love, he said, voice gentler now. Are you wearing a control collar? Ryu's gaze snapped to Splinter. This was it. The moment. Splinter went very still. Then, no, he said. The word was tight, controlled, forced through clenched teeth. Ryu felt his pulse spike. A lie, but not a simple one. Of course not, Splinter added. A pause, then. Do you see a collar on me? Careful, too careful. Ryu's eyes narrowed. That wasn't denial. That was worrying. His gaze dropped. Splinter's paw moved. Slow, deliberate. Hidden by the table. A faint scratching sound. Easy to miss, unless you were already looking. Ryu leaned lightly, just enough. Saw it. H-E-L-P. Carved shallow into the wood. His breath hitched. His gaze snapped back up. Splinter's expression was calm. Too calm, but his paw was shaking. Not wildly, just enough. Fear. Controlled. Endured. No, Ryo said slowly. I don't see a collar. Understanding hit him like ice water. Hidden, camouflaged, invisible. Netsu's paw settled on Splinter's thigh, possessive, reassuring. You see? He said highly. Splinter flinched, sharp, immediate, gone just as fast. But Ryu saw it. Take your paw off him, he said. Flat, deadly. Netsu's ears twitched. I beg your pardon. Now. A pause. Then, slowly, Netsu withdrew. I would never, he began. Stopped. Something caught, unspoken. Namuri stepped forward. You told me once, she said gently, that the worst thing they did wasn't changing you. Netsu didn't move. It was deciding you belonged to them. A beat. This looks like that. For a moment, Ryu saw it. The crack, the memory, the lab. Pain flickered behind Netsu's eyes. Then, gone. Replaced. You're all against me, Netsu said, laughing softly, brittle. Against us. His paw drifted back, hovering near Splinter. Not touching, not yet. If you insist on this little inquisition, he continued, I may have to reconsider your positions. His tone tightened artificially. After all, we are so very happy, aren't we, my love? Ryu didn't look at Netsu. He looked at Splinter, watched the tension, the strain, the calculation. Yes, Splinter said, and Ryu knew that answer had cost him. Netsu straightened, shuddered. This is a stressful time, he said smoothly. Hosu, the Nomu, emotions are running high. I will, of course, submit to evaluation. The word sounded like a joke. But I will not be treated like one of them. Ryu's gaze dropped briefly to Netsu's paws. Too still, deliberately still, holding control by force. Come, Netsu said, turning to Splinter, offering his paw. Splinter rose, controlled, careful. As he passed the table, his eyes flicked down to the word, then up to Ryu. For a second, the mask slipped. Not fear, not pain, a plea. Act! The collar. Ryu couldn't see it, but he knew it was there, waiting, punishing. Splinter looked away first, took Netsu's paw, did not pull away when Netsu's grip tightened. The door closed behind them. Soft, final, silence lingered. Then Aizawa spoke. That collar punishes disobedience. No one interrupted. If Netsu decides Splinter is trying to leave. He didn't finish. He didn't need to, because Ryu could still see it, carved into the table. Help. And now he understood. Splinter wasn't passive. He was waiting, and time was running out. They stared at their journal. The page was blank. For the first time since they discovered their quirk's true potential, the words wouldn't come. When they closed their eyes, they saw dragons, fire, a man holding his sons and sobbing. The expression on that rat man's face when reality rewrote itself and stole his moment of reunion. And somewhere beneath that, the feeling of being watched. They didn't know by whom, only that whatever they'd started was no longer theirs to control. The pen hovered over the page. They wanted to write, make everything go back to normal. But normal didn't exist anymore. They destroyed it. And that's the end of that chapter.